What's up, guys? Welcome back to the next part of our streaming tutorial. My name is Gutex.
My name is Lewis, aka Offcast.
So today we're going to be talking about, well, okay, last time we talked about the configuration of Xsplit in the sense of setting up your scenes.
Yeah.
As well as the basic settings. Today we're going to go into more depth on the different settings that you can configure, bitrate, bandwidth, all that type of good stuff.
Yes, yes. And here is the juicy parts. Okay, so now we're back here on our computer.
Yeah, we have our, we have two scenes set up.
Yes, we have our, webcam scene and we have our game scene here. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a channel, and actually we're going to go to broadcast, edit channels, and just for the heck of it, we're going to get rid of this one, and we're going to add a channel. And right here you have a lot of different options. Custom RMTP, that's advanced stuff, so that'll be something later on. And here you have your major stream sites: Ustream, Livestream, and Justin/Twitch. So for this tutorial, we'll go ahead and use Twitch. And if you want to go ahead and add in your information there. So you can see it asks for your username and your password or stream key. The other sites, especially the RMTP stuff, is going to require different information here. But like I said, that'll be in the future. So you can see if your credentials are correct, the actual channel will pop up here. And the first thing you see here is location. Now, what Twitch has enabled for Xsplit is for them to see information from the various servers they have available around the US and the world. So basically, depending on where you are in the US or the world, you'll be able to see your connection to each server. So what you're going to want to do is, to keep it simple, you're going to want to see what this, you're going to want to let this run for a little bit and see which one's either the most green or close to green. And you're going to want to select that one. So you can see here, the one that's probably been the most stable has been the ones in Los Angeles, which is not surprising considering we're in LA. So for now, we're going to go to one of the Los Angeles servers. So we've selected that one. Now here's the video encoding part, the fun part. For the most part, you're gonna see the X264 encoding. That's almost always gonna be there unless you have an AverMedia card. Their newest card actually has its own encoder built in. So if you have that, you can use it. Honestly, I would still recommend using the Xsplit encoder over that one.
Yeah, X264 is an open standard. I mean, it's being worked on all the time.
Yeah, it's really good. In fact, it's been updated as Xsplit has gone on.
Mm-hmm. Next up is max bitrate.
Max bitrate. Now, basically, this interplays with the mode and the max bitrate play together.
Yeah, I mean, basically, your bitrate is the quality of the video that you're going to be sending out. So the higher the number, the better. Yeah,
especially when it comes to sizes. So if you're sending out, let's say, a 360p stream, which is 640 by 360, you're not going to need as much bitrate. You'll need, like, at minimum 1000 for it to look watchable. But let's say you want to send a 720p stream, right? And you're thinking, like, okay, so 720p, that's, 2 times 360, I should be able to send 2000 and look fine. You would kind of be right, but not really. It's actually going to be more like 4 times the amount.
Right.
So to make a really pristine looking 720p stream, I mean, some sites say 2500, but I still don't think those look that great. I would say at least 3500 to 4000 to make a really good looking 720p stream.
Right, and it's not like you can just put in whatever number you want, because ultimately you're limited by 2 factors. 1, your CPU.
Yes.
2, your internet connection.
Yeah.
Because if you are not living, if you don't have FiOS
yeah.
or cable, if you're stuck on that, net zero DSL or something, your speeds aren't going to be as good, so you can't set your bitrate as high.
Yeah. So you're going to be limited, by your computer and your actual available internet.
So how do we figure out what the max bitrate or what our recommended bitrate should be? Because everybody's internet connection is going to be different.
Okay. I'll preface this by thinking about the user. So let's say you're the lowest end user, you're i5 dual core, maybe you have a graphics card, maybe you don't, 25 FPS. You're not going to do more than a 360 stream. You're always going to be stuck there. So basically, you're always going to set that thing to about 1000 to 1400 at max. So if you're in the lowest end, you're there. Now let's think that we're like a higher end user. We've got a good machine. It can handle the 720p feed.
Okay. We got to get our Xbox feed in. We're going to stream at 720.
So let's see if I have the bandwidth to do 720. So the easiest way to find that out is to go to a site called speedtest.net. Let's just refresh it. This will be what you first see when you open up the site. So it'll list your ISP right there, and you're going to want to begin the test. And it takes time. Ping, the lower the better. You know, like if you can 5 to 10 ping would probably be the best. 33 is still pretty good. Your download speed doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with streaming.
This should actually be about double what it is right now. But hey, that's
it's
that's American internet for you.
So this is what really matters, your upload speed. And this is what's going to determine how good of a stream you can get.
Right, so we're hovering just around 2.38 megabits. So that would be the equivalent of 2,300 kilobits, right? So you could, let's say, put your bit rate up to 2,300, and you might think, oh, well, that was easy.
Yeah, give it all of it. You know?
Yeah,
like this stream's gonna look
why
great.
not?
And this is where a couple things factor in. So the first is gonna be the fact that it's the internet. It's not always gonna be 2,300. It's gonna fluctuate. Sometimes,
especially if you're on wireless or on a 4G hotspot.
Yeah. Yeah, especially 4G, especially wireless.
If you're on cable, your neighbors are downloading porn 24/7, even though you told them, hey, I got to stream this, 5-man
It's like, well, I'm
Halo
sorry,
tournament.
the new Kanye album just leaked. I got to download it and share all the BitTorrents.
Neighbors.
So, that's the first problem. The second problem is actually within Xsplit itself and within encoding. So if you look back at it, you'll see the mode.
Right, we have VBR and CBR.
So VBR means variable bit rate, and what that does is it interplays with the codec in the sense that based on what's going on in the scene that you selected is going to reflect the actual bit rate outputting.
Right, which means that for a low motion scene, like for example, a webcam stream with two guys sitting here talking, you're going to have you don't need you don't need as high of a bit rate because it's just two dudes sitting here talking. But if you compare that with like a game like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, then you need a much higher bit rate to support all of the action that's going on screen.
Yeah. So if you set this thing to 2,300, it'll be fine when you're on just a webcam shot because it'll just be you sitting there. The actual bit rate outputting will probably be more like 300 to 400 max. Mm-hmm. But when you go to that Marvel shot and someone's soul fisting and someone's doing a team hyper combo, it's going to jump above that 2,300. It's going to go to 25, 26. It usually doesn't go too far from what you say the max is, but it can. And when it starts jumping, then you're going to drop frames, which means you're going to have a lag. So you're going to be like, why is it okay when it's like this, but when I go to this, everyone starts complaining about the stream? That's why, because of the variable bit rate. Now you would think, okay, so I'll set it to constant bit rate, which theoretically would solve that problem, because what constant bit rate means is it's going to stay at a set area and it's not going to spike. Like when you're on the webcam, it's 2,300. When you're on the game, it's 2,300. And that might technically be an answer, but then you basically fall into the second trap where the internet is not always stable and it's not always going to give you that 2,300 upload. Mm-hmm. So the basic common sense is you want to use 60% of your maximum upload. You can even be safer and do 50%. You can be riskier and use 70%. But basically, if I have 2,300 up, I'm not going to push more than 1,200 upload on my bit rate. If I have 4 up, I won't push harder than 2,200, maybe 2,500 if I'm being risky. And this is going to be really important when you don't have a lot of time to test. Because a lot of people think, well, like, oh, I can test all these bit rates. Like, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just got to set up and go. You don't have time to test bit rates. So it's best to go with that 60% value. So for this one, we're going to set it to 1200. And below we've got our audio bit rates.
So for the free version of Xsplit, you only have the speaks codec, which sounds like you're streaming through a tin can and a string. But you can just leave the AAC HQ setting the way it is by default. And then for bitrate, I mean, this is we're talking about audio bitrate. So if you guys know anything about audio bitrates from your MP3s, you know that 96 is pretty good for spoken word. Yeah. But if you have any kind of music in there, you want at least 128. But like, for example, if you were trying to do a music stream, maybe you would want to go to 192. You would want to max it out.
Yeah.
But for most gaming streams, I think that 128. You were saying that 128 is sufficient.
Yeah.
And you want to keep the 44.1 stereo, unless you know for some reason you're extremely constrained with your bitrate, and you weren't doing anything with music. Then you know if it was just spoken word, one.
Yeah, you
one
could
channel.
just do mono or.
Now, what about configuring more settings, like our video encoding setup? What do we need to set quality to?
Okay, so the quality kind of, it deals more with the variable bitrate. That's why it's really only an option there. Because based on the quality level you want, that's how Xsplit's going to determine where to drop the bitrate when you change scenes. But it can get really convoluted, but for simplicity's sake, just set it to 10. If you see that your system can't handle it, drop it to 9. Mm-hmm. Don't go below 7 because it's going to start looking terrible. If you've got a really beefy system, you can set it to not set. The next thing down is going to be keyframes. That's something more advanced, so you just want to leave that on default. The next thing is the encoder preset. The encoder preset, to keep it simple, it's basically how it compresses the file and how much, to be honest, it really directly affects how much CPU resources it's going to take to make the picture look good. So if you set it to, you know, like faster, it's going to look better than, you know, very fast. The thing is that, I mean, it takes a really keen eye to tell a difference. And to be honest, most computers, especially laptops, aren't going to go beyond very fast. So, you know, just leave it to that. If you got some like monster machine with like liquid cooling and like 8 cores and stuff and some sick graphics card, then yeah, go ahead and push it to like medium or whatever you feel like. But for pretty much everyone else, very fast is going to be fine. The VBV buffer, you just want to leave that the same as the max bitrate to keep things simple. That's another thing that goes way beyond what you really need to know to get a stream up. Finally, video size. So what you can do is you can actually set XSplit to output at a different video size than what your stage resolution is. That was what you set in the other video. We set it at 720. Okay, so now you have a 720 video feed, but you don't really have the bandwidth to make a 720, you know, stream. So for this example, we're going to set it to 360. You know, if you have the available bandwidth for a 720p stream, you just leave it on default. But if you don't, you can set it to these lower feeds to output.
Right, and one thing to consider is that even though you're outputting a lower resolution on for the stream, you could actually be doing your local recording at full 720. Yeah. So your local recording, saving the file to your hard drive at 720, but streaming at 360. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why a lot of times, you know, when you watch like a Team Spooky stream and he doesn't have the best internet available where he has to use 4G, you know, it's at 432 or 360, but the later video is HD, you know, because it's using that XSplit recording. So, you know, for this, we're setting it to 360, and, you know, now we've got our quality set, and we can go ahead and move away from there. Extra encoding parameters, that's something that's like...
That's that secret sauce.
That's that secret sauce. That's for the, you know, the X264, you know, scientists.
Yes.
Possibly later we'll give you some of those ideas, but that's like the secret of the pros.
Yeah. You guys don't need to worry about that yet.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
So now we've got...
You didn't see nothing.
Yeah, you haven't seen nothing. So now we have our our stream feed setup. Now you can see the channels there. So now let's push a stream. Like, let's see if these settings actually worked, and we can, you know, send out a stable stream. So we're gonna go to broadcast. I'm just gonna click on the channel, and you're gonna see up here on the XSplit, it'll say streaming. It'll give you a little notification, and you'll see frames encoded. Actually, if we go to view and make the viewfinder a little bit bigger, let's go to like 60%. So now you can see there's also frames encoded and frames dropped. And when you see frames dropped going up, that means you're getting lag, and the viewers will see it on there, and they'll like see things like start skipping. So you can see, like, we had our settings right. Like,
we have 0 drop frames.
0 drop frames, but also
our bitrate is really low.
Yeah, because we're on a webcam low motion. I wish Winnie the Pooh was high motion and we could show that off, but unfortunately it's not. But let's go back to there and let's just make a lot of motion and see what happens. So you can see the bitrate very slowly is going a little bit higher. It's up to like 400 now from our craziness. So that's an example of how the variable bitrate works.
And now you can see it dropping back down to about now like between 90 and 100. Okay.
Yeah. So now let's set up a streaming properly to kind of give them an example of you know what they could do wrong and how it's reflected in XSplit.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and go offline on the broadcast, and let's go back to our channel settings, and let's go to CBR. And let's be that guy who's like, yeah, let's push to 3,000. Like, what's some speed test going to tell me about what my internet can use?
Well, Time Warner said,
yeah,
3 megabits.
I don't trust them. They're the Illuminati. All right, now let's go ahead and broadcast. So now you can see the bitrate is going to be pushed really high because that's what CBR does.
Yeah. See, so now we're going up past 2,000 kilobits up to 2,400, and our frames dropped increases with every second, which means that most of these frames are not making it to the internet.
Yeah.
So for our 6 viewers that are watching that have no idea what's going on,
for the 4th time in the day,
I know, they're just like, you know what? Unfollow. Fuck these guys. All right. So that is the danger of setting, your bitrate too high. So we can take that back down to a more reasonable level. Whoops, down to a reasonable level. All right. Okay, so
I mean, that's pretty much all you can do with encoding. Just to give you a heads up, there are some glitches that can happen in XSplit, and there is a reason behind them. So a lot of times you saw that frames encoded count go up, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you'll see it like disappear and then reset counting. So it'll go from like 60,000 frames then back to 0. What that usually means is basically the server dropped you, and then it got you back, and now let's restart it. Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily an error on your part. Sometimes the servers for these sites have problems, and they just drop you. It happens on all the sites.
Right. And another thing to mention before we go is that you are not limited to one channel. You could actually stream on multiple channels if you had them set up, right? So
yeah.
So you would just click on all of these, and you could also do local recording at the same time.
Yeah.
So that you could do the trick that we mentioned earlier, which would be streaming at a low resolution, recording at a high resolution for the archives later.
Yeah. Of course, that takes a better and better PC to do all those functions, because all those take more and more CPU.
Right. Because, what a lot of people might say is like, well, I don't really need to do local recording because I have the Twitch archives.
Yeah.
But if you're dependent on the Twitch archives, now you're at the mercy of the bitrate at which you uploaded.
Yeah.
Because even though it looked pretty sweet coming in at 60 frames at 720p, by the time it got up to Twitch, you were down at that 1200 kilobits range. and it just doesn't look as good, especially then when you transfer that archive to YouTube. Now it's re-encoded yet again for YouTube, and the quality degrades even further. So that would be the advantage of always doing local recording and making sure that you have a PC that's beefy enough to handle streaming and recording at the same time.
Yeah. So, I mean, that pretty much wraps it up. I mean, you guys should have the knowledge by now to go ahead and start your own streams. So hopefully,
yeah, I mean, maybe next time what we could do is we can show them like one of your sample stream layouts and
yes,
see all of the ridiculousness.
The Hydra.
Yeah, but we'll do that another time. So guys, thank you for watching this latest part of our streaming tutorial. Please
comment.
Yeah, leave us some comments, questions, and we'll try to get to those in a future episode. Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys later.